worldwide by now taught some 35,000 separate individuals, which is, you know, almost crushing in a way, because one worries, can one really know so many people? I have never met a person and never encountered a literary figure who is able to combine absolute contraries, really contradictions, as Hamlet does. He is at once more given to theatricality than any other figure, and yet also given to a kind of terrifying inwardness, which keeps growing and growing further and further into the deeps. And that's an amazing combination. How can you be totally theatrical and totally inward? I think you reach a point in this amazing play at the end of the fourth act where something breaks apart in him. The theatricality goes one way, the inwardness goes in quite another. But pragmatically, there's such a difference in degree between Shakespeare and even Dante, Cervantes, Tolstoy, Chaucer, and so on, that pragmatically he does become different in kind. That the world's greatest dramatist, the world's greatest thinker, really, I think one would have to say, because he transcends philosophy, transcends Plato, transcends Montaigne, should also have been the world's greatest entertainer, or as Ralph Waldo Emerson said of him a little ruefully, the master of the revels to mankind. A very difficult phenomenon to try to catch up with.
After he wrote Hamlet, did he change? Did he?
I think he did. Without Hamlet, you would not have had the really terrifying succession of plays, almost too painful to contemplate. Othello, King Lear, Macbeth. Then, almost as though with tremendous relief and release, he writes Antony and Cleopatra. But it has all cost him something.
Cost him what?
Cost him, I think, something of his own capacity for endurance. I think that the isolation of Hamlet as a figure, and he's absolutely, in the end, isolated from everyone else in the play. They're all intensely concerned about him. The critical tradition says he's in love with his mother. You know, that's Freud's notion. So much nonsense. Here he is, and his poor mother, just poisoned, is dying and cries out, "Oh, my dear Hamlet," and his farewell to her is, "Wretched queen, adieu," as if to say, so much for you, sweetheart. This is a ruthless...
Wretched queen, adieu.
Adieu, yes, to say to one's dying mother.
Well, that doesn't... What does that say to you? Is that Freudian or just simply...
No, I don't think it's Freudian meanness at all. Meanness, he's too grand to be considered in terms, you know, of moral good and evil. He's too grand to be considered in terms of generosity or meanness. Of personal information about Shakespeare, of what you might want to call Shakespeare's own inwardness, we know nothing.
Right.
We never will know anything.
No, never have understood why that was.
I think
he left no letters, he left no record.
Oh, we have endless legal records. He was a man very quick with lawsuits.
But that was commerce.
So and that was pure commerce. He was a great businessman. No, he would not expose his inwardness. He seems to have been someone who kept himself, though a good fellow, and getting along with his fellow dramatists for the most part, in the world of actors and theater people. He seems to have been someone who really kept to himself.
But no diary.
No diary, no familiar letters.
Yeah. Let me bring this back to Hamlet. Hamlet is, some say, a combination of Prince Hal and Falstaff?
Yeah, I myself have said that. And yet, Falstaff is as witty as Hamlet, but Falstaff, in the end, even if you wouldn't want to spend the night drinking with him, because he would certainly pick your pocket and who knows what else he would do to you, Falstaff is genial and benign compared to Hamlet. Prince Hal is neither genial nor benign, particularly in his incarnation as Henry V. He is a power monger and a great employer of power and of warfare. But Hamlet is a dramatist. He is a poet. He is, to this day, our most persuasive representation in all of literature of what we have learned to call an intellectual. Indeed, he is the only literary character, and this is something that has bemused me for years, but I've tried to work it out in this little book. He is the only character in all of literature who seems to have an authorial consciousness all his own, so that you want to quote him on all sorts of matters the way you would quote Emerson or Montaigne or
the way you would
Nietzsche.
quote authors.
Yes, yes. In that sense, again, he is a very alarming kind of a figure. But there are so many Hamlets that even if 50,000 actors, and indeed actresses occasionally, play him, we will not come to the end of him. Almost any interpretation in some sense is valid, because the figure is like trying to hold Quicksilver, trying to hold on to his consciousness. There is nothing constant about Hamlet. It is a mind so totally vivacious, so profoundly vital, that it's always at work reinventing itself. So in a sense, you know, we need as many directors and as many actors for Hamlet as we can get.